Hey, it is, what is this? This is episode 75 for the RC Afterhours podcast. Isn't that pretty cool? Isn't that pretty crazy? First off, huge shout out to everybody. You're going to see some fun stuff in the background. And Bill, this one's for you, buddy. Look at that. Holy moly. So Bill Decker, big shout out. Bill, for the ones watching, or if you want to Google, Google Redneck Zombie, and you will giggle your heart out. This is actually a movie that Bill was a part of way back when, and we had a fantastic discussion about cinema. Well, we didn't really talk about movies and all this, but he knows what I do for a living and everything, and it was funny. So, Bill, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, sir. And the big one that he really surprised me with, and he really didn't have to, but it's now going to be a review thing. Sitting in behind me is from Dreamflight, is a LaBelle DLG glider. I've already ordered the high-tech servos for it and everything, so super excited about pulling that together and getting it going. I do enjoy DLG, but my old mountain hobby thing, DL50 was just, it is what it is. But wow. So Bill, thank you, sir. This podcast is, I guess we'll dedicate this one to you because wow. Speaking of things, there's some stuff going on with Patreon. Check your notes. Tomorrow you're going to see a thing. Various states in the U.S., this is a new law that they've put down. They're now taxing the Patreon feed and everything. So what it means in the end, I don't know. Your decision. You support the show, and I appreciate it, and we use the funds to fund the various elements of it. The show will still go on. I've managed to really feel secure about what I'm doing and everything, and, like the guests who keep coming on, and I guess that's a wonderful way to segue it in. Hey, there's a guy on the channel. We can't see him. You could probably scour the internet. You'll never find his face. He's really good at scraping his image, I'm finding. So, without any further ado, Alpha, welcome to the show. I guess it's been a couple episodes since we've had you on, and you and I, we banter back and forth almost daily, I'd say. Well, at least every couple days. It depends on your activity.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something that which kind of just triggered the show. André needs a haircut. No, I don't, guys. I'm going. Look at this. And for those who can see it, it's hiding all my gray. It looks rather blonde because I've been outside. I've been exercising and getting all kinds of healthy stuff going. What a weekend. I don't know if you've had fun. I didn't get flying, but we're going to talk about this in the show because I went to the flying club and I'm all set and had my check flight and everything. And we'll talk about some interesting little episodes about flying in a brand new location. So we got Alpha on the show, and the purpose behind that is he actually has some content, some product that we want to talk about, and it'll be fun because it's a little mix of everything. They've got some new lines, some new foam, some new balsa, and some other stuff, and and I'm going to, there we go. There's a few things I need to click and check, and over here, there we go. A lot of chatter. I guess 6 o'clock on a Sunday night is good. So Alpha, how have you been, buddy?
I've been busy. But the good kind of busy.
Yeah.
The good kind of busy.
We'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff you've been doing, and I want to hear how you view this, we'll call it a recovery, and just, see how you're starting to see. Are you starting to see lights kind of, twinkling a little brighter now that, do you feel like things are settling down on your end of the world? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, dive right in. It's been a crazy time, undeniably. I think for everyone. My thoughts, I hope everyone's safe. I hope everyone's healthy, and that we're all able to sort of make ends meet. You know what I mean? But other than that, as far as the hobby goes, from my side of the world, we continue to move forward. Things aren't ever insurmountable, and that's for us all that sort of really matters. Push.
So from Motion's RC perspective, did you see a little hiccup in your in your programming, or were you able to maintain a pretty steady flow as it went? I mean, obviously, last time you talked, you briefly described that the factories were off kilter, but actually, no, you said you guys were starting to come back on stream last time we talked, right?
Yeah, yeah. The nice, well, not nice. Nice is really the wrong word. The sort of the way things ended up working out is that Asia was about 2 months ahead of the rest of the world on all this, and
Mm-hmm.
so for better or worse, their burn cycle ended up ending sooner. They went through far more drastic quarantine mechanisms.
Yeah.
That's more of a function of their ability to do that because of the type of the government they operate here. But they were able to do extreme measures quicker, and more in depth, and it really curtailed a lot of what we're unfortunately seeing through other parts of the world. So the
Mm-hmm.
production base of a lot of what we were able to of what we're sort of invested in here got through most of it before these things really started to burn in other parts of the world. So, I hate to put a toy spin on a very real, serious global problem, but you know,
Yes.
for I frame it as sort of a bit of a glimmer of hope. I mean, guys out there listening, at the very least, when things are seemingly falling apart, hey, the toy factories are still open. We're still producing. We're still developing new products. We have continued to make new announcements seemingly every week with new expansions and new product lines and restocks of tanks and balsa and et cetera. So, as far as we're concerned, our little niche of the world, we're able still to provide value to customers, and I think that's something worth being proud of, especially at a time like this.
Well,
We're not going anywhere.
so you touch on a very very interesting point, and as difficult as some of this stuff was, it was nice to see people zoning in on the hobby and acknowledging, okay, fine, especially in the March, April time, even into May, gave kind of, and that was the contest we ran, the yard challenge, and that kind of just sparked a lot of creativity and everything. So it was nice to see it, and
Yeah.
I've had things like buying the flight simulator and hanging out with the friends and just chatting online, because I haven't seen anybody, but we'll talk about the fact that I went flying recently, and that's as we start seeing some of these steps come into play. So
Right.
you
Creativity thing I think is an important part, right? I mean, the notion of the hobby is that we're creative people. We're creators. We want to build stuff. We want to go park it in the dirt. We were involved in that pursuit, and it's nice actually to see that cannot be eroded, even if we're stuck indoors. It cannot. It doesn't go away. We get creative. We find other things to fly or to drive or to build.
yeah.
We find other ways to interface with each other. The world has sort of seen a lot of this, and so we've probably all heard anecdotally of how puzzle sales are through the roof, and almost this return to my childhood of growing up sitting on the floor playing board games and card games with the family and Rummy Cub and Monopoly, not really having video games at the time. So it's nice to sort of see that really still exists in everyone. And in fact, I think it's fair to say that parts of the hobby have actually grown during this period because people are being sort of forced away from the computer or from other
Yeah.
types of pursuits, and they're able to sort of rediscover model making, which is great. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, it's yes, and it was even on my end of it from the club I'm involved with. You saw a lot of people building, and even myself, I went in waves and everything. I think I've got too many projects going on at once, but it was interesting. Did you guys, from an operational standpoint, were you, because you're more of a warehouse, I guess, less storefront? I guess the biggest thing you had to work with or advise your customers was you couldn't guarantee your shipping, your shipping out, obviously. But did you find that was a bit of an asset during some of the touchier situation times?
In hindsight, it's interesting how things sort of pan out. A large part of the conversation strategically towards the latter end of this previous year centered around tariffs and trying to produce enough so we could ship enough to get ahead of those tariffs. And as it turned out, we had enough inventory to sort of sustain us through what ended up being a Corona sort of COVID-19 caused dip in production. And so overall, as I mentioned, we've continued to grow. We've continued to see sort of steady inventories for the majority of our portfolio, which is important, because I think more than ever people are looking to the hobby to say, I'm really stressed about real world things. Do you have some glue? Do you have a little something I can play with, I can put together?
Yeah.
Just to help get it's an escape. I mean, really, fundamentally, this hobby is
the
it's
escape.
a fantasy. It's an escape. It's recreating history. It's really getting away from, at least I see it as the humdrum of day to day. So I think a lot of people love that. I certainly do.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, I'm reading through comments here. I mean, Rick Collins is like, it's a time to build. You're right. I think we've all sort of discovered a bit more. I know I've certainly ended up building and painting a little bit more and trying to still interface with my hobby and scratch that itch.
And it was interesting because I know stateside, I had a good... For me, over here in Canada, our field was under certain rules, volunteer rules, and then the city rules and everything. So they didn't officially open till last weekend. And I actually went out on Sunday and I flew, and it was really interesting to see some of the changes. And I like park flying. I really think it's still super important, and I miss all my buddies. And I even shot another video with one of my other Captain Drone friend. But I almost feel like the legit flying clubs for the next foreseeable future, they're going to be the answer in that, because you can go and safely fly without having to worry about the public, general public coming up to you or interfering or anything like this. So in some ways, it's the potential for them to actually see a little bit of a resurgence, I think, might be really nice. But who knows, right? This is all speculation. But yeah, I got out, I took the Tundra out, and I went flying. And I tell you, the last time I flew at this airfield was in September last year. And I giggled because I was having to bring the plane in like a whole minute sooner than normal, because it's so big compared to what I'm used to that I'm burning across the field. And I'm like, wow, I got to bring in, so I'm landing at like, a whole minute sooner, and I'm at 3.7 on the batteries. I'm like, well, that was a good run. But I laughed because I got out and it was the Tundra, so tail dragger, and I ground looped the darn plane, and I was like, wow, it's been a while since I've been in thick grass, because I couldn't turn the plane right. Funny. I actually had to do a right or left. I had to do a whole rotation in another direction to get into the wind, because we had a pretty nasty crosswind. But it was just funny to do it. So I'm looking forward to going out there with some of the larger airplanes, and then long term into some of the Balsa airplanes. So that'll be a fun little segue, and we'll get into some of why we're here and what we're interested in talking to and everything about your lineup. But I'm glad to hear that things are picking up. And I kept telling the guys, I'm so glad. It sounds funny. It's sad, and at the same time, I'm glad. It's probably safer for my wallet that I'm not, U.S. based and can't get free, shipping on jets from you guys, because I think I would be in a whole lot more financial pain than I am right now. But yeah.
Good. I'm glad a international border provides some sort of respite to you.
It's tragic, man, because I look at some of the aircraft and I go, oh, I would love to get those in there. And I hate to say it, I'm actually slowly thinning out a lot of the airplanes in the fleet, because I'm bringing in stuff eventually for the summer and planning, and they're just aircraft that I haven't been able to fly, and I'll never get back to. Not that I never, the replication in the fleet, and I think where a lot of people are doing it, and a lot of people are starting to roll secondhand. And like I said, in my club here in Ottawa, there were a lot of projects, a lot of people, a lot of people were sitting there and saying, okay, here's a project. I pulled this thing out of it. I've gone to the store, and as soon as the local hobby stores were able to do curbside, I tell you, if you, the only poor stuff, John Davis, shh, the only unfortunate part was, if you're a mom and pop shop and you didn't have a website, I think you, I think this is where you saw the pain, right? And I think anybody who
Right.
didn't have a website to do sales and inventory and everything, I think they're the ones who are probably hurting the most, unfortunately. So it's Victor. Free shipping is killing his bank account. Yes, I could believe it, man. But hey, at least man, Alpha, you got a lot of fans on the podcast. So, all
Yeah.
right. We're gonna dive in. We're gonna take a little deep dive into your next lineup. Do you want to plug your lineup and tell us about it and how this all came along?
Yeah. So I think anyone who maybe saw your ad knows where I'm going with this, but we try, as I think hindsight is rapidly showing, we try to have something new every week, every couple of weeks. We've made major announcements in a variety of categories, even in the past 4 months, throughout COVID, regardless of tariffs, independent of Chinese New Year's and any other sort of delay. Like our battle plan remains fixed, which is to just deliver increasing value to our customers. And what a lot of them say is they just want more choices. Balsa was a big play we made last year, the year prior with Black Horse, and our partnership with them, our exclusive distribution of their products in North America has been really amazing, and we love the feedback that we're able to see from people. We're now into our fourth or fifth sort of shipment with them, where customers are finally able to sort of see the feedback they've given us now go through about a year cycle into development and verification, validation, production, and now we're receiving products. Their near DO335 Arrow, for example, or Feel. That's a great example of a model where people said, we love that you've got Black Horse, but we'd really like to see that aircraft in your lineup, but it's a bit old. Can you sort of update it here or there? And we took about the year, and we did. And so now we brought it in, and people seem to be enjoying them. Nexa is now the next evolution in that process, where Nexa is Motion RC's exclusive brand. It's our in-house brand of Balsa aircraft. And in the same way that Skynetic is Motion RC's exclusive brand of in-house foam electric aircraft, beginning with the Havoc Racer and our Shrike glider, and recently announced some bringing back of other classics from previous manufacturers and previous names. Nexa is now that in-house brand that is going to house all of our OEM Balsa. And customers, savvy guys, are going to be quick to observe some of these models are models we've seen before. I call them the classics.
Mm-hmm.
But we're really setting the stage here, guys, for, in hindsight, we'll look back and see, Nexa was, again, as Alpha had said, that in-house brand that housed Balsa aircraft from a variety of manufacturers and suppliers. What we're really doing is trying to establish the foundation upon which we can then go ahead and innovate. So some of these models we've seen before in the market, we're now saying, give us your feedback. If you've already got one, if you bought it from someone else, if you've got ideas, let us know, because we're at the factory. We're putting our spin, just as we did with Freewing, just as we did with Robon, just as we did with Henlong tanks, just as we did with Black Horse and Balsa. We're doing that now with Nexa, and all I can say, as I always am fond of saying, we're just getting started. This is just the beginning. So that's sort of what Nexa is today. And I suppose the last sort of thing I want to say, guys, is that keep in mind, this is just the first salvo. So if you have feedback for us, if there are other aircraft that you want to see, perhaps they weren't represented, or they weren't in schemes that you wanted, or you had issues with sort of parts, or there's just something that you really love and you think you'd like to have it brought back in a new way and perhaps under our service umbrella, let us know. That's our intent. Now, I can't promise that we're going to bring in every single thing. That isn't our intention. We again, as I mentioned at the top, we want to drive value, so that it's got to be something that checks all of the boxes. There are a great many number of products that we'll likely never bring in under our umbrella, but it all begins with feedback from customers. And so far, you're scrolling through these pages here.
Mm-hmm.
So far, it looks like there is a lot of feedback that we can chew on, mostly positive, some critical. That's always a good thing, and we're able to sort of take that go back to the bunker, do some strategy and see if we can't come out a little better in the next shipment.
So
these are already shipping. The other thing, sorry, that we did with Nexa is we like to sprinkle in, again, in hindsight, this all makes sense, guys. We try to sprinkle in variation. So there are aircraft that we announce and say, hey, it's a 3-month pre-order. There are products we say, surprise, they're here now. Nexa was one of those where we were able to sort of keep this close vest all the way until they're in stock and ready to ship and say, surprise, it's a category. It's not just, what's the next jet, Alpha? It's, here's 15 Balsa airplanes overnight, and they're in stock, and they're ready to ship, and there's spare part. All those sorts of things are variations in sort of our release portfolio, which I think keeps people guessing and keeps people engaged, and certainly keeps me up at night. So all good things.
So my initial question is, when you onboard a new brand, what kind of conversation do you have with these suppliers as far as getting, like you said, you're not just bringing the planes, you're bringing in the parts and everything, and you're talking about, at this point, longevity, right? I mean, this is something that everybody looks at when they buy a brand new model. How long am I going to be able to get the parts that I need for this airplane, or do I need to get everything at the first right away because it might not be existing in 6 months? What kind of conversations do you strike up with your manufacturing suppliers?
We have long conversations. The short answer is we have long conversations, and we try to have all conversations. We've been working with these manufacturing partners under the Nexa umbrella, not just the ones you guys see on the website today, but ones that will be soon announced, for years. These are conversations that happen in the same way I'm fond of reminding people that OV10 you saw us release with Flightline last month, that's arriving next month, that's a 2.5-year, 3-year development cycle on that particular aircraft. The AL37 is 2 years. If you can think that we spend 2 years on one airplane, imagine how much time and energy we spend to prep the runway, so to speak, to bring in a category with an entirely new factory, or 2, or 3, or 4. We can't turn the lights on 50 or 60 different aircraft from a variety of suppliers overnight, but we can certainly at least begin with 1 or 2, and that requires years of planning.
Yeah.
So that's why I always chuckle. Remember a year ago, Andre, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, every time you ask me what's coming, and I keep saying everything's coming.
Because you multiple,
One day people are going to look back and be like, oh, he wasn't joking.
Lying. No.
He wasn't just doing foamy EDFs. Like how many categories do we need to produce before that's seen as fact? But yeah.
So I guess the nice thing about stepping in, and like you said, you're making those little tweaks. You're stepping into, I'm assuming, if they've made the mark as far as a valued supplier, you can trust them, and so. Are you still doing inventory quality yourself? Like, are you still grabbing a model and flying it? Going, yeah? Nice.
Yeah. That's the benefit is, we're not too big for our britches, and we never want to be. I still am in factory in Vietnam, where a lot of our Balsa partners are made. The Black Horse is a great example. We can talk about them. I mean, known them for years. I'm there very often. We put our hands on the aircraft. So there's been some concern, I think, as far as growing too quickly or growing too large. That's not what we're about. Growth for growth's sake is never healthy. That doesn't help my customers. It doesn't help me as a customer. So we always want to grow smartly, and that will always require a hands-on touch. That sort of artificially limits our growth, because we're never going to be able to sort of, be it everywhere at once. But it does protect, which is important, I think, for our customer family. They demand this of us. It does protect the notion that anything that we're selling is something we've looked at. It meets at least a minimum set of requirements, which I would say are very high.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are absolute starting points. Funky Pops brought up, and I agree with him, some of these aircraft in across our portfolios, across any manufacturer,
Yeah.
There are the highlight winners, there are the home run hits, and then there are the good planes. And there are also some that aren't good. My favorite example is their free wing products, and I live there. They're free wing products that we don't sell. I
Yeah.
don't like them. I can't
Yeah.
stand behind them, so we don't sell them. It's okay. Um, I can say the same thing with Robon. I can say the same thing with Henlong. I can say the same thing with Black Horse. There are products that we need to begin the relationship somewhere and say these are the ones we want to start with. These are the other ones we'd like to start. We'd like to add on eventually, but our customers say you're going to need to improve this or that or the other, and we're able to really sort of stay there. Again, referencing back to the feel. From from Black Horse. That aircraft had a lot of people who wanted it, but they had some very specific requests and really requirements that they needed us to ensure we would put in place at the factory before we brought the aircraft in. So that's where I'm going to continue to say, as I always do, customer feedback, 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 feedback. If you tell it to us, we'll listen, and not just listen, but we're at the factory, can actually drive that feedback, in the production line. So these
So
things take time.
yeah, I
But
was gonna
what
say, yeah,
what
this is a long relationship. Now,
Harris Balsa, yeah, a lot.
I was gonna say, so the Black Horse line that came in, what I'd say about a year now, is it?
Yeah, actually, almost, yeah, year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
how's your foam to balsa ratio? How is that looking these days?
Um, Balsa's a great thing because it confirms what most of the guys at Motion RC were the older builder sort of generation. Um, we wanted to believe that builders, that we weren't the only ones left, basically. And I can say that in short, Black Horse and even Nexa in our short time with it has already proven and reinforced the notion that we're not alone. There are many other people who continue to want Balsa, who continue to have the attitude for it, the aptitude for it, sort of the acumen to put these things together. They have engines already, they're taken off the shelf, they're experimenting with electric conversions, but overall, this is a size and a category and sort of a level of difficulty that hasn't completely left the hobby.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
That
Very
was a
true.
valid question 2 or 3 years ago when we were sort of getting railed against for almost being the harbingers of death for the ARF and the kit world because we sort of P&P'd everything. And really dropped the price and increased the value, made it really difficult to compete for, say, sub 40 size or 46 size balsa aircraft because foamies were just more convenient. It was a valid question to wonder: are we diluting too much of our original love, which is balsa, which is building? And anyway, as I already said, I was happy to say that we were wrong. It's not gone. There's still people out there, and
So
that's Nexa's that next step is we were heartened to say, yeah, it's not just one vendor. We can bring in a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factory partners that are just going to play in that balsa or composite space, and there are people who will want it. It'll be worth that effort.
So what's the difference between the Nexa line and the Black Horse line then?
So Black Horse is a great question. So Black Horse is a factory. They sell their products, under their name, Black Horse, and they also produce products that are OEM. So they'll produce an exclusive product. The Nexa OV10 is a great example, and that's an aircraft that is only available in North America through Nexa, through Motion RC. So we in this instance, we sell both products sold as Black Horse under their name, and there are also products that they're going to be developing for us exclusively. So that Nexa label is really, when you hear Black Horse, you could have bought it from Motion RC, you could have bought it from Pickler, you could have bought it from another European outfit, you could have bought it from a hobby store somewhere in the Middle East. There are a variety of sources for Black Horse product, but where you see Nexa, you'll know that is Motion RC, that is Balsa, and that is only Motion RC. So the
Very cool.
service structure, the expectation of service and warranty support, knowing that Motion RC's got people on the ground for that product specifically. It's an additional level of sort of exclusivity because it's our in-house brand. Um, this isn't unlike, by the way, what Horizon will do. I mean, it's Horizon. We've got FMS, which is a great example.
Yeah.
FMS is a factory that produces FMS products. It's also no secret that they produce, as a factory, they produce OEM products for Horizon. So I think most of the industry engages in this practice to sort of help focus your fire on models that you really, really want to keep for yourself. Or, if I'm going to design something, I'm going to want to keep that in-house. I'm going to want to be the one to represent it, market it, sell it, service it, because I know it better than anyone else. So.
Nice. All right. So a loaded question. The Nexa line, I know you have planes. So what do you have from the Nexa line in your personal fleet right now? What are you flying?
Oh, what am I flying? I hate to be so evasive, but I can't tell you.
Because it's the next lineup, isn't
Yeah,
it? Oh, you lucky dog.
it is. Yeah, we announced the AL37 that was very successful, then the T33, which was wildly successful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your support. The OV10 as well has proved to be very, very popular with the pre-sales figures, and then Henlong tanks and Nexa has continued to it's propelled that momentum through the spring and now into the summer. So, obviously, as time goes on, the ticker for the next sort of foam electric aircraft pops up. So it's sort of interesting that every other month we're announcing a category that has 15 boats on it with Bancroft models, or 15 or 20 and soon to be 35 Balsa aircraft. And then we just announced our partnership with Team Corrali for 1/8 scale trucks, and some other announcements to come. But interspersed with all those larger category multi-product announcements, we are still trying to play to the base. And you got to make that foam jet, you got to make that foam warbird, you got to make that foam, thing I can't tell you right now. But all of those different types of things
That's all good.
are still, they're still coming, which is a fair point. I mean, for anyone listening, if I've seen any criticism of our expansion over the past year or so, which is valid, it's been a sort of a slight fear that we're moving away from our core business, which is foam electric. And just allow me to say that's not happening, guys.
No.
We're continuing at the same pace as we're expanding with our foam electric in a variety of categories. We're just adding on other things. So it's not coming at the cost of, because we announced warships and tanks and construction and balsa and new helicopters, that means you're going to get less EDFs from Freewing this year. You're not. You're going to get the same number this year as you did last year.
Nice.
So I think that's all good.
Oh, no, it is. It's fantastic. And, it's funny because, I've got some of those photos and like we're talking 2 years now since the last 64 millimeter EDF batch came out. So I was like, ooh, I bet he's due. Because, like you said, it was a successful category. And I'm like, we haven't seen any development there. So you're probably thinking, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
It was, I tell you, I really, really had my heart. Actually, I'm still disappointed that I don't know when I'm going to make it to the U.S. because I had my finger on the trigger for the Bronco and the OV10. And I just, like I said, everything we come back to, it's always so much money for the shipping. But I'm pleased to hear that thing is flying off the shelves. I can't wait to see this thing fly. And I think the next time I have a chance to jump down to the U.S., I will have to consider something like that, because a twin prop, 4S plane. I watched the videos with James and everything flying, and I'm like, yep. Yep, that's my wheelhouse, so, as usual. So, but I have so many aircraft to fly. I have so many jets that I still haven't put up, and then I watched a few reviews of the T-38, T-38, the 33, and
That's later.
yeah, no kidding. But I have to say on that one, I really like the German scheme for the because of the way the nacelles, the fuel tanks are lit up or in the orange. I'm just trying to scroll through it to find it, and like the thing looks gorgeous, man. And what I liked the most about it was the fact that, like, again, proven, power system, proven landing gear and everything. And I actually, the Bronco, I'm jumping ship all over the place here, but when I looked at the Bronco, did I not see utilized various landing gear from existing aircraft?
We didn't actually.
No?
We just
Okay.
I mean, we always try to reuse wheels. We already have 17 different types of wheels, and so it's advantageous to not open a new wheel mold. But the struts are
Custom?
the struts are suspension struts. They probably look similar to like Tiger Cat struts, but they're not because of the length.
Yeah.
So that's something where 4 years ago when we announced the P-38, our first flight line twin, we didn't have suspension struts.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the Tiger Cat, the second warbird, the second twin from Flightline, we had a suspension strut upgrade, so you have to buy it separate.
Yeah.
And then now in 2020, we announced our third Flightline twin. It's already sort of pre-upgraded, and the coolest thing is, even 4 years on, we were to keep the price the same as what it was when we announced the P-38. So, what other industry can you release a product 4 years after sort of the quote-unquote original, make it better, but keep the price the same, which doesn't happen. So we were excited to be able to do that, which is key. The whole thing is to get more people flying, more people RC, more of those puzzle people. Everyone who began playing puzzles and Monopoly, Chutes and Ladders over the past 3 months, sort of rediscovering fun time with their kids. Now it's about getting them to go try a tank, or a truck, or a car, or a glider, or an airplane, or a 1/4 scale Cub. I mean, something. We have a captive audience now.
Well, yes, you do, and it was I probably could do podcasts for days on various subjects, and it was I've got some friends at the local hobby store, and just talking to them and or just watching the stock, and it was like he says, like the ground-based vehicles, because most people are stuck in their backyards. Those things were just, they couldn't keep them in stock, they couldn't ship them out fast enough. So, so it's kind of fascinating to see the various peaks and valleys in the hobby and everything. But it's also nice to see that people are still going, okay, I want this one. I almost want to ask you if you saw any changes in your ordering patterns, like as far as what was flying off the shelves, but I suspect it was still the same. Like you said, like you built up enough of a buffer that you still had stock in hand and everything, and able to get through and everything. Actually, actually, Alex just put the questions ready. Are you guys having any issues keeping products available? Yeah.
Yeah, no. Thankfully, not yet. Part of my job, guys, is being in Asia, is going to these different countries and spending time in each of these factories. I live within an hour of 10 of our partners or their primary supply chain, and so it's being there to preempt a lot of these issues. When I'm there, it was December. I spent Christmas in Asia, and we already there was no sort of word of COVID-19. Of course, we don't have a crystal ball, but there's always this sense of you always want to get as much as you can across the water at the quality level that you need to meet any day of the week. It doesn't really matter what the rest of the world is doing or what the rest of the market is doing. We believe if we have it, we can sell it. I'm very bullish on the notion that if something's in stock, there's going to be someone who's going to want it. The day that I have a 3-meter Zeppelin um, someone's going to want to buy that thing.
We could
and
sell that
and
one. We could.
yeah. So to answer your question, Alex, is the answer is no. We don't have real major issues with keeping products available because every day, COVID or not, our mindset has always been more product, more faster. And times like this, that strategy has helped because yes, it requires you to pay a lot of it forward and you're really making large investments in having shelf stock. But at times like this, when others may be running out, we're able to sort of say, we still got stuff. The only thing that we're actually having to deal with, which is becoming a bit of a problem, it's always a good problem, but it's a problem nonetheless, is that customer demand is beginning to exceed our production capacity. So
Wow.
tanks are a great example. We brought in Henlong tanks. We did an announcement in December. They arrived in February. They sold out most of them within a couple of weeks. We received more of them on Friday. We're almost sold out again. So what we think is going to be 3 months turns out to be a 2 week supply. Okay, let's make 6 months worth. And now it's going to be 2 week supply. So,
Yeah.
good problem to have, but that is part of the growing. If there's any reason why something's going to be out of stock, I would rather it be because so many people want it, because that's something we can solve for with more effort and more cash and just scale the business. So I know, Bill, I want a Zeppelin too, buddy. Quinny, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions since I see him here. Quinny Perks, what do I think of the Bixler? Bixler is a great platform. It's not an innovative platform per se. I think everyone's got a pusher from Dynam to FMS to Durafly to, companies that don't even exist anymore. But as a platform, I think it's excellent. Something like the Skynetic Mercury, which is a very similar platform, high wing. You can hand toss it or roll on ground, but the key here is that the propeller is on the back and elevated, so it's excellent for beginners, excellent for FPV platforms. You really can't go wrong. Bixler or any other similar layout. Other questions here, Victor. Hey, Led Zeppelin's amazing. See how to drop some products instead of backordering them. Yeah, Alex, that's also a fair point. We've seen that in some of our compatriots, which is unfortunate to see. But Alex's question is essentially, he's observed that other people in the market have dropped products rather than restocking them or backordering them. No, we never really want to do that. It takes so much work, effort, time, resources, money to put a single product on the website. Each of those pages constitutes so much effort. By the time it's there, you don't want to let it go. You don't want to not order it. It isn't part of the business to not order something. So that's certainly not our strategy. Anything you see out of stock, it's because people bought more of it than we thought they would, and trust that we're frantically scrambling in the background to get more.
Yeah.
Are you the professional
actually
state of things?
Are you actually having, are you having to stick handle the whole import thing right now? A little bit more effort required for that?
We are. I love the term stick handle, but it reminds me of flying a cub. I mean, you're quite literally, you're on it. And it is something that requires more of our direct input these days. So you're right. There are elements of any business that you want to delegate or die. And there are times in a small industry like ours where, hey, if I'm here and we have the mindset to lower costs and preempt problems, which are expensive, by sort of micromanaging certain parts of the operation, we'll try and do that. So things like customs, things like logistics, and making sure that your products get across the water in a fair amount of time, that Walmart and Target aren't taking up, that they're not monopolizing the container ship, which they're trying to. It takes a lot of that effort. So this is the part of the industry, the hobby, Motion RC's business that we don't talk a lot about. There's not a lot of people on this podcast, but suffice to say, for anyone who's listening to this, it's just trust that it's a whole lot more than the airplane or the truck or the car that's sitting behind you. It
Oh
is
yeah.
it is so much. I can't begin to say how much it is. But I'm sure any of us could talk for days about our given careers. So could I. There's so many ups and downs, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But in all good things. Bill, yes, you're right. I do need to get that Titanic. The King Tigers, though, are certainly we're gonna have more King Tiger tanks than we will Titanics in the short term. But we are bringing in two different sizes of that Titanic later this year, so I'm excited about that.
You're referring to the
Like,
boat, I
do you have any
assume.
water where you're at, Andre? Yeah. We announced the Bancroft line, and we've got the
Yeah,
Titanic, Armadale, and
I do have access to some water, and trust me, I looked at a few of these. And I've got my pool. We did the submarine video a few months ago when it was warm. Um, yeah, I laugh when I saw some of these videos. I'm like, wow, some of these things are huge. These ships. And then like you get your scaled your tank transport and stuff like this, and you get some luxury. You're all over the place as far as what you guys have decided to bring in, which is
it's all
hilarious.
this. And it's funny because it's a direct reflection of the things that we love. Like Mark he's an avid nitro buggy guy. He
Yeah.
loves, as do I love nitro. Um, I've been a big warship and tank guy for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I used to build ships in the 90s and fight them with quarter inch ball bearings, RC model warship combat. So it's nice to finally get to the point where we're really able to say, look, motion RC is motion. If it
Notion.
moves, we love it. And there's going to be, I love far more than you know than a Rafale or a Concorde or a whatever. I love far more than a Cub, or a Bixler. There are a lot of different things we love playing with, and it's exciting to sort of be able to say, I love sailing. Do you love it too? And some people don't, and that's okay. The expectation, guys, isn't that everything we produce is going to be something you're going to love, but I think people are going to have to accept that we are RC nuts, and so if it's RC, you gotta trust that we're trying to go for it. Yeah, the Nimitz. I mean, this is a great example. This thing it's almost 6 foot long. It's a giant. It comes with 20 different aircraft you can put on top of it. I mean, shout out to OV10 Charlie. He's one of our prominent Hobby Squawk friends. He served on the Nimitz, and so I know that he's gonna get one. Um, and I don't need to sell a million of these things. If a couple of people really love them and want them, and they're in sort of the group that I am in, we're gonna try and get it. And so, yeah, I love seeing the Nimitz. And you're right, Vic. Final countdown. Who hasn't seen that? FPV boats. You bring up a good point to the FPV boats. The nice thing is, once we build out the ecosystem, this entire ecosystem of RC products, whether it be a landing craft with a tank on it that's running up on a beach to fight other tanks, and there's a World War II bomber above it trying to, there's a Stuka trying to drop something on it. You can sort of imagine this battlefield or this playing field where FPV and other types of technologies get to sort of come back to play in. So, absolutely, you have an FPV equipped tank, which we just announced our FPV equipable tank series for the Henlong tanks. Can that tech be adapted? Can you have your drone doing a cool cinematic flyover while there's an airsoft BB gun war being waged, or your Missouri unloading on the beachfront? You can sort of have all that, and I just don't see any downside. Quinny Perks, yes, there are aircraft for the carrier. If Andre clicked in the gallery for the carrier, you'll see some of the photos. But there's obviously the Nimitz, she served dutifully across many seasons, and so the version we represent is sort of that classic, I'll call it, Nimitz. So she has Hawkeyes, Intruders, early F-18s. She's got a sea stallion on her and a few other things. You got to scroll down into
Scene.
into
Yeah.
the
There you go. The bottom of the page. Look at
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Look at that. That's not bad at
So
all.
it's got deck equipment. It's got a whole bunch of stuff.
That's. And you said how long this thing was? It was 6 feet long?
It's 67 inches.
Oh
It's
my.
5'7". It's actually closer to like 5'9" with the antennas and all the other sort of radials on it. But yeah, you guys can see, if you stop right about there, you can see all the
Yeah.
deck aircraft.
Yeah.
You can position the equipment, and I, as a modeler, I get excited. I start thinking, well, Titanic, I'm going to put lights in it, right? But something like a carrier like this, I'm going to put my goal is to put magnets under some of these aircraft and
So
some of these
taxiing around.
But yeah, if you put magnets on the product, on the aircraft, and underneath the deck, because it's just a flat deck, it's a flush deck underneath, you can have a system of magnets and pulleys where there are magnets that move around, right? So anything that's sort of clipped to them on the outside will move around as well, sort of getting into like an animatronic type display. So these types of things, when you have an aircraft carrier that large, now are you going to go sail it every day like you will some of our speedboats? Probably not. But why not? If for anyone out there who wants an aircraft carrier, why not get it from Ocean RC? That was our thought process. A Missouri, same thought process. Got to have the Missouri, the Bismarck, the Hood, the Scharnhorst. I mean, all the naval warships I can think of are things that I think I'm not the only one who wants these things.
And there's a Titanic that Bill was mentioning. That's funny. That's
yeah.
It's such an unexpected category, but like you said, if it works and if there's demand, you bring them in and they sell, booyah, right? I mean, it's funny. It's like, and
it's like, why not? Why not?
Well, and like you have through your experience over the years, what works, what doesn't work, and everything. So exactly, like you bring them in, and hopefully, well, not even hopefully, obviously, if there's demand and it's selling, it's going. You just put them on the cargo and go, and it's just crazy, though. It is absolutely crazy, and I'm kind of we'll watch this space kind of thing into the future, and you'll have to tell us. You'll have to come back and say how it's going into the future. Like what kind of market penetration are you gaining with them? They all look like they're 2S ships, if I'm correct. I'm just reading some of the quick specs really quickly.
Yeah, some of the faster ones, like the speedboats, are 2S, 3S. We've got the 4S and the 6S coming. We have some. There's a speedboat crowd definitely that we're going to be speaking to, but we really want to, because we're known as scale guys, and maybe people don't know this, but Mark and I are sort of Navy men. I'm sort of straddled between Navy and Air Force, but bringing in scale warships like an Arleigh Burke, there's zero downside from our point of view. We have to. RC Iceberg with Bluetooth sound effect, that would be neat. One thing I'd really like to see, and it, in fact, is something that we've seen people do, speaking of sort of hometown hobbyists in the age of Corona, we've seen things for our tank series. Our tanks currently fire an infrared system. They register hits on each other. And there's a great Hobby Squawk member who's also now generated or created he's made a system that improves the efficacy, the accuracy, the reliability of that and precision of that infrared mechanism. But also he's made, and other people have begun to make sort of mines where you can shoot something and it'll shoot back at you, reactive targets. So that's for tanks, right? Smoke and all those sorts of things. For warships, you get into Titanic. You can have lights on it. The Missouri battleship. You can imagine a full-on salvo, a broadside where there's smoke coming out of it, lights and sound effects, sparklers. I mean, I don't know. You can sort of get creative. But for us as modelers, we really are modelers first and businessmen second. The vision has been, we just want to play with stuff. My B-24, once I've painted it up and fully detailed it, the fun is in flying it, which is fun every single time. But a tank, I can repaint every other day. I can I can, with a boat, I can sort of gradually detail it and play. So giving people more options to play is sort of important. Iceberg distress flares, I agree that would be pretty neat. I always wanted to have like these little, you can make like balloon-sized. I always forget what they're called. They're balloons. They're anti-aircraft balloons,
Oh,
basically.
okay,
That
gotcha. Yeah.
during Normandy and whatnot, or Dunkirk, for example, we threw up these balloons. So you could have like balloons or observation platforms with little FPV things on them. I don't know, it's just exciting stuff. Lee Davidson, when is the Crash video contest happening? You've got to check the official channel at youtube.com/motionrc, Lee, for complete information on that. James has made a couple of videos regarding that. To be honest, I don't know exactly myself. I believe it's the end of this month is the deadline to get in all of your submissions for that contest, and then we're going to be announcing them in the future. Thank you, Chris, or sorry, thanks, Mike at Dolphin to Dart. They're called barrage balloons.
There we go.
That's
So I guess it's funny because I flicked onto the website and your truck category came up and then the boats and everything. So the diversity you kind of touched on this, but I guess the diversification of your portfolio. It sounds like an investment bank. Like without diluting your current lineup, you've just enhanced your product and your location and your ability to reach out to more Emotion RC fans and customer base and everything. What do you see? I'm gonna actually. What do you see down the road for another year? Like, what's your 1 year? What's your 2 year plan now?
more of the same. I mean, we staunchly believe that the majority of hobbyists out there have more than one category. Anyone who's got an airplane probably has a drone, or at least tried one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who had a drone probably had a helicopter. Anyone who had a car probably got a truck. They probably tried a boat eventually. Anyone who's got a foamy probably is going to want to get into balsa. Maybe they have aspirations of turbine. So we already see it's innate in all of us. I think we're all nuts. We all just want to control stuff, and so our goal, our continued goal, is going to be when someone thinks, I want a tank, instead of going to Amazon like they had to do last year and hoping that it arrives and signing off on any hope of getting English service and warranty support. Now, when they want a tank, if you Google tanks, you're going to find Motion RC, and we'll be able to service it better than anyone has. The same thing with any RC category that we really love. There are many categories, by the way, which are well represented, into which we don't need to go. Good friend of mine, Tommy, he keeps asking, when are we going into turbines? I don't know. A whole lot later.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole lot later. But on any given day and in any sort of point, we want to be able to look forward and look behind us and say, we're definitely giving customers more options, bringing more products under our service umbrella, which is really the most important thing. There are a lot of good products out there that just, if they're serviced better, people would like them more. And so it's not rocket science. We just want to bring better value to customers. You're right, Lee.
Lee Davis says. Lee Davidson said RC is crack. Once you tried it, you're addicted, and it's true. And you see people kind of not merging, but just going through the hobby and trying different things. And it's I got it when I started selling off some of the foam planes. And then people were like, "Are you getting out?" And I'm like, "No. I'm just moving my way through and trying some other stuff. There's, I'm
Yeah.
super excited about the Balsa plane behind me, and then eventually there's going to be some fuel, because I'm like, well, if I'm paying for this membership at this big giant flying field, well, I might as well get into some fuel-based flying, and so things will come along and things will change, and then I've got a bunch of fun wings that I need to finish, and got to fly some FPVA
Right.
at the field. I've been flying
Yeah.
my Phantom again, so it's, and then there's like, there's a Nitro Traxxas sitting behind me. There's the next thing, so it's Bill's having some fun with your bird. So there is no right answer to this hobby. That's the amazing part of it. Like, you can be doing any different thing. You could be flying 6S at any moment. You can be flying turbines down the road, or you could be piloting a boat, right? So it's that is the fun part. If you had a big enough truck or van, you could probably do all of them at the same time in one day, right?
Well, that's the nice thing is when we go out for these filming days, I've got I actually in January or so, I had a Missouri, 6-foot long, 50-pound Missouri in the van. It was next to 3 different tanks. There was a truck in there. There was another vehicle I can't discuss. There was well, I guess, and then the rest of I guess I can't really talk about the rest of what was in there, but suffice to say, between air, sea, and land, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. There were 9 different, toys. I mean, and how cool is that? Went seamless. Actually, there were 10. We went seamlessly from one to the next, to the next, to the next, and I don't think, again, I don't think I'm the only person who would really love to get a part of that. So, regarding the bird. There are many birds here, guys. I'm bird friendly. I can't actually hear them since I'm on noise canceling headphones.
Nice.
But the nearest organic bird to me is a solid 50 meters away. So I don't know how everyone's able to hear that thing. But
we've been getting it the entire show.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
It's just tuned to his frequency. I can't hear that thing.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all part of the the nuance of the show. So cool. I think we've covered off everything on your lineup. Is there anything else you wanted to really discuss? I mean, we know it's sort of what you guys have got planned for the next 6 months, and moving into the summer. Again, it's unfortunate a lot of the events are not going to be taking place, but I like some of the stuff that you and James are collaborating on, and the live streams and so forth. Again, and the fact that
we've got the crash contest going. So
yeah,
the crash contest seems pretty fun. People love dirt naps, and so that's fun. I think you and I are going to be doing some things we've been talking about for some promotions to help grow, RC After Hours, and just wherever we're at, whatever we're doing. And I suppose to answer your question, this is my encouragement for everyone listening. This is a crazy time, but wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, as it pertains to RC, just do something. If it's going to support your local hobby shop, if it's teaching the daughter how to play the simulator, if it's learning life hacks on how to get super glue off of your fingers, if you're like me and I keep CAing my fingers together trying to build this glider. Whatever it is you're doing, try to move the hobby forward. This is a time where I think a light shines brightest surrounded by darkness. So this is the time when each of us as hobbyists can really move the needle. And even if it's that's internally doubling down on our own sort of passion or commitment to what we're doing, or more so, and I hope this is more prominent, getting out and talking about what we love, and celebrating anyone who's doing their best to move that needle forward. I don't care if you support Motion RC or any other company, any other industry, any other shop, any other podcast, any other modeler. I don't care. I just want to know that that we as modelers are doing our honest best. So where we see that we celebrated in each of you, people support us, and we love that. You know, people will hate. I eat haters for breakfast, but beyond that, we just really love what we're doing. I hope it shows.
It does. It does. That's a very suitable way to wrap up this episode. It wasn't. It's not meant to be the longest podcast, and it doesn't have to always be a huge show. But geez, it's always a pleasure to get you on and talk about it again. You guys are amazing. The Patreons and everybody on the Instagram account, I don't understand, but it's just going crazy, which is really fun to watch. I keep the comments coming in, keep the ideas coming in, and crash stories. Hey, if you want crash stories, email me them. rcafterhourspodcast@gmail.com or hit me
Blame
up.
André.
Blame André. Oh, yes. And the stickers. I need to revamp the RC After Hours logo. It's time for a refresh. The Blame André hashtag is going to continue to grow. My wife laughs when I wear my own ball cap, and I'm kind of like, yeah, that makes sense, really. So, but we're having fun with it, and that's the whole point of it. There's no, jeez, I do it because I can. We're very fortunate to have access to as many people in the industry and being able to talk to people. I'll post that. Victor says he'll post something on Instagram since you're not on Facebook. Oh, he's talking to you, Alpha. Okay, great. Yeah, so keep it coming. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the Patreon contributions. We'll figure something out. And like I said, it feels like we're just getting into probably some better times and some better fun and everything. And I'm going to try and keep flying. I wish I could have got it out this weekend. But hey, I was being a very good, athletic, healthy person and moving myself hard. So I'm André on the other end of this line.
LaBelle, man.
Hey?
LaBelle.
Oh, I'll be building my dream flight glider. I can't wait. Like I said, the servos are ordered. I gotta go and I have my receiver, and I think I've got a suitable battery, and I look forward to going DLG flying, because if you want to wear yourself out, go DLG flying. So, on that fantastic
All right,
note,
guys.
Alpha, thank you. Thank you for coming on. We'll be in touch, and we'll definitely have to draw you into another show in the near future when you've got some new products to talk about and some exciting stuff from Motion RC. Again, I'm André. The other guy on the other line is Alpha. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, buddy.
Cheers.